Hey everybody, this is Kromar with TGN. I'm here today to bring you another World of Warcraft Cataclysm video. Today we're looking at Spirit Gear. This is Let's Get Heroic Episode 3. And we're concentrating on Spirit Gear for healers, as well as for Elemental Shamans, Balanced Druids, and Shadow Priests, who can all use Spirit to get hit rating. And although you don't want to go, get too much to go over the cap, but a little bit's fine. So let's get started here with weapons. Now, weapons are kind of tough, and there's not a lot of options. And I'm going to show you the best option here. It is the PvP items. If you've seen Part 2, you saw that the weapons are extremely cheap. Let me see if I can find them here for you. Now, at the moment, the Vicious Gladiator's Gavel does not have Spirit on it, even though you'd expect it to. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but there is a staff that you can get. The Energy Staff, which does have Spirit, so you can get a two-hander Spirit weapon. If you want one-hander, though, you're not going to be able to get an easy one at this item level. What you want to do is get the Crucible of Carnage 333 weapon, or the Blacksmithing 346 weapon. As an alternate, you can also spend Tolbarad points on the 346 weapon, but I really recommend getting weapons from Conquest points simply because it is so easy, and it's just the easiest way to get high-end weapons. Now, for Paladins and Shamans, aka shield users, there's just a great shield you can get from Justice Points. I'll show you here. This is Shield of the Mist for only 950 Justice Points, which is absolutely a steal. Now, there's also an offhand you can get here, an offhand only item for Priests and for Druids. However, I don't recommend that. The reason is you can actually get something that's equally as good from the auction house just for some gold. So you might as well save those Justice Points for other items. The Divine Companion is made with Inscription. This one's up here for 1200. You can often get them cheaper than that because the scribes will actually make it to level up. So you might even be able to find a scribe that'll actually pay you for the point. Now, for relics and wands, well, unfortunately, bad news. There's nothing. Seriously, nothing. And there's not even an Inscription relic, which is bizarre. There's just really no good options, period. You have to get drops, or you can just go in the auction house and buy, like a level 300 green or this level 300 blue or whatever. You're basically going to be using some kind of garbage for that slot. Here's an example of a Spirit Relic, not a level 333 or above, of course, but there is something in the auction house, although that's wildly expensive. I wouldn't waste my time with that. You can get something from quests, around that item level. Or you can always just resort to skipping Spirit and getting Spirit later from drops. But yeah, not a lot of good options for weapons. You basically only got one or two. Next, we're going to talk about the various reputation vendors. Let's start out with Hyjal. On your Hyjal vendor, let's see what we got for Spirit. First off, we've got the Cloak. We've got the Cloak for all kinds for 333. Next, we've got a 346 Revered Male Pants. And then there's an Epic Belt. Of course, you have to get Exalted for that, and you're not going to have that before you go to Heroics, so don't worry about that for now. That'll be for later. Next on the list is Vashj'ir, Earthen Ring. The first item is this neck, 333, for all classes. Then we have 346 legs for your Druid, 346 chest plate for Paladins, and then not one but two items for purples. We've got Earthmender's Boots for your Shaman, and these Worldkeeper Gauntlets for your Paladin gloves. Next up, we have Deepholm. We have the Therazane faction. At Therazane, you do have your Intellect Shoulder Enchant. This goes, you have a Shoulder Enchant for everybody. You've got Agility, Strength, Tanking, and Casting. So you've got everything there, and you've also got rings, including this ring, but it's not a Spirit ring. The only problem is they have every kind of ring except Spirit for some reason. So if you're desperate for a ring, you could go ahead and grab a non-Spirit ring from here. At least it's easy to get. But of course, you want to stick with Spirit whenever possible. Next on the list, we have Twilight Highlands. In the Twilight Highlands, you have your two factions, Dragonmaw and Wildhammer. Dragonmaw is for Horde, and Wildhammer is for Alliance. As Horde, you got to fly out to Blood Gulch, which is right here in the middle of the map to the right, to find your Quartermaster. Here at your Quartermaster, let's see what we've got. We've got the 333 head for Shamans. We've got the 333 shoulders for Druids. And for Epics, we only have the belt for Druids. And while I'm using Horde examples, keep in mind that as Alliance, your Wild Hammer rep vendors have exactly the same items. And for our last faction, we have the Cat People in Uldum. First, we have our Paladin feat. Next, we have the 333 ring for all classes. Next after that, we have the 346 belt for shamans. And lastly, a very nice Paladin epic belt for Exalted. So I made you a handy chart just to show where we're at so far. As you can see, this includes all of the reputations as well as the weapons that we've discussed so far. I have Conquest points for weapons, even though there are other options for weapons. I think the Conquest points is just the best option. And, of course, Justice points for the shield and Inscriptions for the offhand. Now, you may notice that I've intentionally left off all of the epic reputation items, and the reason is that they require Exalted, and in order to get Exalted with each of the reputations, you do have to use the tabard, so you're not going to have access to those items until after you've run a few. This is just the 333 and 346 blues, as well as those Conquest epics. Next, I've got a couple of BOE blues to show you here. These are very easy to get. The first one is this trinket, Rainsong. Here we go. It's a great spirit trinket. It's definitely for healers. Costs next to nothing, and it's a must get. It's only a 316, but still, for how good it is, and for how easy it is to get, you definitely should get it. The next on the list is the Curse-Tainted Leggings for your priests. Another cheap, easy to get BOE. Make sure you put that dash in there. It's Curse-Tainted Leggings, and you'll find those. Very easy to get, and it will help you fill out that one slot. Next, I want to start talking about quest rewards. Got a couple in my box already. For the Penetrating the Defenses quest, we have this plate gloves for your paladin. And in the quest Targets of Opportunity, you have not one but two, Shaman wrist and Paladin shoulders. Next, we have Uldum quest rewards. Both of these you get just from leveling in Uldum. The Eye of the Stars ring is from a Harrison Jones quest, and it's one where you go underneath in the temple, and it's like a 4-part chain. And then the neck piece, or the trinket rather, the Talisman of Sinister Order, is from the end of the Schnatz line. It's from Firing Squad. It's where you got the great strength and agility trinkets too. So obviously a great quest because it gives you some seriously good trinkets. I know it might seem odd to be selecting a non-spirit trinket for this slot, but there's just so few options for trinkets, and this is the best of the non-spirit ones that you can get easily. So I suggested this one. Next, we have some dungeon quest rewards. Halls of Origination and Grim Batal. Takes care of your Druid helmet, your Shaman shoulders, and your Druid gloves. And these are just the dungeon quests you get at the beginning of the dungeon, so you'll get them automatically just for clearing it. So let's take a look at our final chart. I've added the quest rewards and the BOEs, so you can see now how to fill out every single slot with each type of character, cloth, priest, druid, shaman, or paladin. And as you see, what I've done is I've replaced all of the slots that we couldn't fill with justice points, and those slots that don't have justice points with X's because they simply can't be filled. Now, when I say there's nothing for a particular slot, I don't mean there's no items, literally, of course. What I mean by nothing is simply that there's nothing that actually fits the criteria of the video that is easy to get before heroics. Now, you also notice that I have a lot of justice points selected for cloth, for priests. Well, that's just unfortunate, but for priests, there's just not a lot of options for gear. I mean, out of your primary 8 cloth items, there's only one item, which is the BOE pants, Curse-Tainted Leggings. And the rest, you're pretty much screwed. I mean, you're not going to have enough justice points saved up for all 5 items, obviously. You'll have 1, maybe 2 tops. So for the other slots, what are you supposed to do? Well, there's not a lot of options. You can either get non-spirit gear, or you can just buy whatever junk's on the auction house and hope that the item level works out. You can also buy PvP items that are at level 339, although those are very expensive. You can use level up questing gear, and finally, you can just grind regular dungeons. You can sit there and grind dungeons to get the drops, and in the process of grinding those dungeons, assuming that you're doing the 2 or 3 level 85 dungeons, you might even be able to get a rep up to Exalted, and even get an item that way. For druids, you've only got to get 2 items with justice points, which isn't bad. You should be able to do that. With shamans and paladins, you want to get your shield and 1 other item. And by following that guide, every class except priest should have no problem whatsoever getting up to average item level of 329 or above, so that they can actually start on heroics and have all spirit gear. With priests, again, you're going to have to run dungeons. There's no other way around it. Well, that's it for Let's Get Heroic Episode 3, Spirit Gear. Thank you for watching. This is Cromar with TGN, as always, asking you to please rate, please comment, and please subscribe.